Hello, my friends, and welcome to episode 217 of the Kiss Army Nation podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Pasquale Vari.
And I am Claudio Spera. Welcome to the show, everyone.
I've been really looking forward to this episode. It's going to be a chilled, relaxed, sit back, and let's just talk. So whether it's just a handshake at a meet and greet, a run-in at a concert, or a once-in-a-lifetime chat backstage, we are here to share our stories of what it was like to meet the larger-than-life members of KISS.
And we're so glad to have back on the show two powerful and attractive, beautiful human beings, Patrick DeMontini and Rolla Brown. Welcome to the show, guys.
Hi.
Great to be here.
Good to be here.
So how's the summer so far? You're doing good? Pat, Rolla, yeah, all good?
I had a great 2-week vacation. And, I'm all ready for a big fall, so it's all good. Yeah.
That's good. Recharge the batteries.
Yeah, exactly. So that's done. So I'm ready to take on the world.
Awesome.
So before we dive into our encounters with the legends of rock, so here's a fun warm-up question. So can you tell us about an encounter you had with a celebrity outside of KISS? Rolla, floor is yours.
I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the little sitcom TV show that was on ABC, Happy Days.
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh my God, yes.
We have this Comic-Con type thing that comes through here once a year. It's called the Mad Monster Party. And Henry Winkler was there.
Oh,
and of
nice.
course, I've always been a big Fonzie fan. And so nobody was waiting in line, and I walk up to the table to meet him, and he smiled at me and stood up, and I was very surprised that he was so short, but he is. He stood up, he came around the table, which they usually don't do. They just sit behind the table. He came around the table, he hugged me and asked me my name and wanted to, how are you doing? Are you having fun? I mean, he was just such a wonderful, lovely person. And it made the whole trip worthwhile.
That's
Yes.
great. That's beautiful.
Yeah,
Great
he's
story.
very memorable for that reason.
Yeah, I can see your eyes, just looking
Yeah.
up and,
Yeah.
getting, the memories
yeah.
back. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what about you?
I haven't met that many. The first one that comes to mind, maybe it's more for the local people here in Quebec. There's this famous 70s band Harmonium. They're the first band I've ever loved. And now that's weird to say that, late leader Serge Fiori did an in-store when he did his biography, and I took my Harmonium albums, have him sign it, and it was, I swear, the same feeling when I met the guys in KISS. Same feeling. I was like, and he's a local guy. He was. Anyways, it was just like, wow, and I have a photo with him, and it was just like so cool. So one of my greatest memories ever. Unfortunately, I haven't met many other artists, not that come to mind, because I love a lot of bands, and I wouldn't turn down meeting anyone in Judas Priest or anything like that, but it's not the same feeling.
Of course. And where did it happen? So where did you
It was on Saint Denis Street in Montreal. It was a store, and he did an in-store there, and there was a good lineup, and I learned it the day it was happening. I was like, okay, tonight this is where I'm heading at.
Wow.
It was great, and it was nice. It was a nice encounter.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Great memories. Pasc, what about you, my friend?
Like Raula, mine took place at a Comic-Con here in Montreal this past July. People that know me know I'm a big Star Trek fan. Yes, Star Trek is better than Star Wars, but that's another podcast. And there was a guest there, Brent Spiner, Data from The Next Generation.
Mm-hmm.
And during his panel, he was talking about two poutine stores here in Montreal, and he was comparing the meat between the two, and everybody was against his choice of restaurant. I think it was Schwartz's and Moish's or something. So then I went to his table and I continued the conversation with him. So we were talking about poutine and cheese and meats and stuff, just like two regular people talking. I'm talking with Brent Spiner from Star Trek. It was
That's cool.
Yeah,
it was really
that's cool.
cool.
That's cool.
So I get the autograph, the picture, and he signs it. And I had a plastic sleeve. So I'm waiting for it to dry. I must have waited a good 15, 20 minutes, right? And I'm in the lobby just checking out all the other celebrities while this thing is drying. I put it in the plastic sleeve and the whole thing just smears.
Oh
Oh
no.
Like, oh
no.
my God, no.
Ooh.
And as that happened, one of my students who works at Comic-Con, she works the celebrity floor, came behind me and gave me a big hug. And instead of saying, "Oh, it's so good to see you again," I went, "My picture smeared."
Yeah.
She says to me, "Don't worry, come with me." She goes over to Brent, says to him what happened, and he gave me another picture and another autograph. That was so cool. He didn't have
That's
to.
nice.
He didn't have
That
to
was
do
nice.
that. He
That's
didn't have
right.
to do that. And I'm not sure how many people actually would.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
you're right.
Very kind of him.
Yes. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, my story, I'm going to go back to 1981 when I was still living in Buenos Aires, where I was born. And I remember by that time, we didn't have many bands coming to the country because of, political reasons.
Mhm.
But there was this huge band, Queen, that they were almost the first ones coming to Buenos Aires, to Argentina, to play a soccer stadium. And I remember that I was only 13, and it was difficult times, in the country. So my mom and my dad, they didn't allow me to go. So then I was with my friends there, and we go outside the stadium, and we listen to the band. We listen to the people chanting and singing. It was beautiful. So then I thought to myself, well, the next day I'm going to head downtown, and I knew that they were staying at the Sheraton Hotel, and I was lucky to the only one that came out was Brian May.
Oh,
So he came out, he came out to the door. He was the nicest guy that you can ever imagine.
oh,
And of course, there was a lot of police, and military stuff, because there was a lot of people. But I sneaked in. He came out of the hotel, and I had a copy of the game at that time. It was the record that just came out, and he signed it to me. I couldn't believe it. We didn't exchange any words or anything, because the guy, he was just signing and passing things by. But I will always remember this moment. Brian May, the guitar player from Queen. I couldn't believe it that they came to Argentina. So that was something actually that I will never forget.
that's pretty cool story.
That is.
Yeah.
That is a cool
Brian
story.
May.
Yeah.
Claudio, I've known you for years. I don't think I've ever heard that story.
Yeah, well, we never talked about, so we always talk about Kiss and stuff, but this, um, encounters with other celebrities. That's why, when I saw the question there, I said, "Oh, this is great. This is the time to bring it up." So yeah, but I don't think, you know what? I think that only with time I was able to acknowledge, the power of that moment. I was only 13, and to me, yeah, he was a musician, he was playing in Queen, but I didn't actually get what it really meant. Then with years, I didn't have any pictures or anything. I started to realize, wow, so this guy, Brian May, he was signing the stuff for me. That was amazing.
So was that a similar feeling to meeting a member of KISS for you?
No, I think it was, it was interesting because 81, in the 80s, was 79 when I jumped into KISS. You were either a KISS fan or a Queen fan.
That's right.
Okay.
You said that before.
Yeah.
You said
Yeah,
that before.
that's right. And then I of course, I was a kid. I was a Kiss fan, but I really liked Queen. But I didn't tell that to anybody. So when I met him, it was fine. It was great to meet him because I could see such a great musician and all the stuff. But no, nothing compared to the first time when I was in front of Kiss.
Okay.
No.
And Raula, how about you? Have you ever met a celebrity that compared to meeting a member of KISS?
I would have to say, um, Cherie Curry
Hmm.
from the
Oh,
Runaways. I had met, of course, I've met Lita before, and so when I met Cherie, I don't know, I mean, I've never actually gotten really nervous around, Kiss, but we're around her. I think it was different. Maybe it's because she was a female rock star and they were so ahead of their time in that time frame. And it's been a few years. It's probably been 12 years ago when I met her, but I was really nervous meeting her and I was very excited at the same time. She was very sweet, very kind. Um, she made a comment about the album that I had her sign. I had her sign Queen of Noise, and Lita had signed it and took it and threw it across the table and made a grunt about it, like, ugh, what do you want me to sign this for? And she just kind of threw it. And Cherie said, "Oh wow, I can't believe you got her to sign this album. She hated it." So I'm like, she did, but she didn't like it. And she's like, "Yeah, I bet."
Mm.
So,
It's funny. I think Kiss is the only celebrities I met who are musicians. Everybody else, they're like television celebrities, movie celebrities. And
mhm.
because they're in my living room every night, when I see them, I feel like I know them, like we're friends,
Right,
right?
of
So the
course.
conversation is easy. There's so
Right.
much to talk about. But with
Right.
Kiss, I'm like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it's,
yeah.
Yeah.
it's a whole different ball game. It's a whole different ball game. You're meeting these legends. It's
Yep.
it's something else.
And it doesn't matter how much you think beforehand, so, yeah, I'm going to ask him this and
Right.
that. Then
Never.
Right.
nothing
Right.
comes
Don't
out.
think before you'll mess it up for sure.
Exactly.
Never. Just let it flow. Let it flow. So speaking of which, everybody remembers their first kiss. So let's talk about our first time. Who was the very first Kiss member you ever met, and how did it happen? Patrick.
The first one I ever met, like a real encounter, was Peter Criss back in '92 when he did his first solo tour. Saw him in London on a Tuesday, and the next day I went to see Kiss in Toronto at the Phoenix when they were doing that club tour. So talk about a coincidence.
Wow.
But anyhow, I saw Peter for the first time, and he played with his solo band. I have to say his mood was
Okay.
he signed my
Mm.
things, and you could tell something was bothering him. But funny thing, he played the Brick here in Montreal the following Saturday, and he did an impromptu meet and greet after with his band. And when he sees me, he goes, "Hey, how you doing?" And
Oh
now he's
wow.
good.
Whoa.
And I was like, "Okay, he's talking to me. Okay, yeah, I'm good. And how about you?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, man, we're a great show. We're happy." And he says, "I said all, of course, like a fanboy. Oh, Peter, I'm one of your biggest fans ever." And he goes, "Yeah," he says, "look for our CD. It's coming out real soon." And I said, "I'll be the first one in line to buy it." And I said, "Thanks again, Peter. You rock." And that was well, the first time I could tell like the show didn't go to his liking, so it was sort of like lukewarm.
Okay.
He signed my Peter the first no a promo photo of him without makeup, so it was the only thing I had in my hands. So and then when I saw him at the Brick, then he signed my solo album. And then I met him 2 years later at the New York convention, and believe it or not, he remembered me.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
he did. Yeah,
Wow.
What year was that?
94.
Okay, that must have been your hair. You had hair like up to here then.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then I saw him the same year in Detroit, and at that time he was like cool and like, "Oh, you again," you know. And then I'll save that for the later question. I have a
Okay.
story.
Okay. Rala, what about you?
Um, Again, this was at the Mad Monster. Ace was the first member. And we met them on the cruise as far as doing a quick little photo, but that was so impersonal, and I don't really consider that meeting them the first time. Do you? I
No.
I don't. So anyway, with Ace, we've talked about this before. Sometimes you never know what you're going to get with him, and at this point in time, I didn't know those things. So when I met him, of course, I was very nervous. Um, we chatted just a little bit. I really don't remember what was said. I think it was maybe, how are you? That sort of thing. It just really wasn't that memorable until my son came out. And when my son came out, his face lit up.
Oh,
And he talked to my son and he gave him a guitar pick. And I mean, it's like he changed completely.
Mm.
So that was unexpected, but also, but yeah, I would have, he was the first one.
Nice.
Yeah.
Ace was your first kiss.
Yep. Yep.
and
he
and
was.
it's so cool that in those memories,
Yeah.
your son, he plays a big role there. So
Right.
if you had been alone, that's a different story.
Yep. Yep.
Well, it's like fans bringing their children to a concert. You
Yeah.
you live the
Right.
experience through their eyes.
Yeah.
Now imagine the same experience, but meeting the actual band member. I can't
Mhm.
imagine how that must feel.
Right.
And even back to what Pat was talking about, when a musician comes out and you meet them after a show, they're not in a good mood. More often than not, it's because they weren't happy with the show.
Right.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
Unfortunately,
True.
yeah.
True.
And Claudio, how about your first kiss?
Yeah. Well, my first kiss, 1994. So tomorrow it's going to be 31 years that this experience that I'm going to tell you about that happened, right? So for the first time ever, Kiss came to Argentina, with Bruce Kulick and Eric Singer. It was in the years of Kiss My Ass and all the stuff. Okay, so 1994. So they played River Plate Stadium the night before. So that same night after the show, I checked in the hotel with my then girlfriend. So I went to the hotel because I knew where they were staying. And I was wearing a suit and tie, everything. So I was like, what is this thing? Whose Kiss? I was playing dumb, because if not, maybe they were
Yeah.
not going to check me in. So I go there, I checked in. And the next day they were supposed to play at a TV show. Actually, they did play at the TV show. And I spent the whole day in the lobby waiting to see them. So they didn't come down, nothing came out. So there was a lot of movement, bodyguards everywhere, but they didn't show up. I go to my room, I see the show on TV. Then I came back to the lobby, and then I start to see some movements, some strange things happening with the bodyguards, and Paul comes out of the elevator. So and he was going to one of the restaurants inside the hotel. So he comes walking up to me. I was in the way, actually, not to me. I was in the way.
Sure you were.
And I couldn't believe it. I swear to God, I was tearing up. I was looking at the rose on his arm, and I couldn't believe that after so many photos, the guy, he was in front of me. So the only thing that actually was able to say is that, Paul, can I take a picture with you? And he's like, no, I'm going to a restaurant. I'm going for supper. And he walks by. And then I kind of yell at him. I say, I've been waiting for 15 years for this moment. So the guy stops. So I think I told the story. So he comes back, puts his arm around me. We take a picture. And then he said, well, when I come back from supper, we're going to have a chat.
Wow.
And I said, yeah, whatever. So then he came back, but he came to me not because of me, because of my girlfriend at that time. So he came, and he started to sign everything, and my then girlfriend started to sing, every time I look at you, and blah blah blah. But he was signing a lot of stuff, and he was in a really good mood. But yeah, that was the first encounter. That same night, I met Gene and the other two guys. But that was my first kiss. So I will never forget this.
Cool.
That was a big
Nice.
kiss.
Oh
Wow.
my goodness. Oh my goodness. With
Wow.
Paul Stanley. And I wasn't as lucky as you guys that you had seen Kiss in the 70s, in the 80s. For us, we had to wait till 1994.
Yeah.
So it was, I'm telling you guys, that was really Kisteria in Argentina. Even though it was not the original lineup, there was no makeup. but still, so there was a vibe in the city that you couldn't believe it. And actually, today it's actually 31 years from the first show in Argentina.
Wow, that's fantastic. I was there in the 70s. I got into Kiss in 76, saw them in 79, checked out in the 80s. In all those years, I never got to meet the band. The first time I met them, actually, was all four of them, was at the Montreal convention.
Oh, 95.
Yeah, 95, the big convention. And that was cool because, like I said earlier, I don't feel uncomfortable around television or movie celebrities because they're in my television in my living room every day. So I feel like we're friends, right? So that expo, that convention was like the same thing. It was like 12 hours of being with them.
Yeah.
They had the Eric Singer Clinic, the Bruce Kulick Clinic. They did a 2-hour acoustic. They did a 2-hour answering question, and then the autograph session at the end. And it's like by that point you were with them all day, you know. And at one point during the convention, there was a girl passing around a microphone, and they were doing Kiss karaoke, and I got to sing a verse of "Heaven's on Fire." It's like,
really?
Oh my God, I just sang with Kiss. I just
love it.
and I have the video. Gene, acknowledged me. So I did pretty good. So, and then there was the lineup. There was 2 lineups to meet the band. And I heard that in previous conventions, it was Paul and Gene on one side, Bruce and Eric on the other. The Bruce and Eric was empty. Paul and Gene was full.
Yeah.
So now they mixed it up. So I went to the Gene and Eric line first, and then the Paul and Bruce line afterwards. So I remember, finally getting there, and I don't remember what I said to Gene, but Gene just turned around, looked at me, put his hand on my hand, but said nothing. I think at that moment I fell in love. I mean, he was so charismatic.
Yeah.
It's like, you didn't have to say a thing.
Yes.
It's like,
yes.
oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It was something else. Unfortunately, Eric wasn't in the best of moods or didn't seem to care.
Remember.
You remember? Yeah, right?
Yeah.
He was sitting on the table talking with somebody. And so I was in front of him. His back was to me. He signed something, just gives it to me. Doesn't even look at me, just gives it to me. It's like, okay, whatever, walked away from that. So a sour taste in my mouth after meeting Eric for the first time. But then get into the Paul and Bruce line. Paul was like, "Hey man, how's it going? You enjoying the show? Glad you're here." He made you feel like you're friends. That's what I wanted to hear. It's like I felt like I've been with them all day, and here we are chatting about the day. So he was so cool. Bruce, the same thing. How's it going? Nice to see you. Hope you enjoyed the show. It was a lot of fun. That was amazing. Yeah. The only unfortunate thing was that we were allowed taking pictures when I was on the Gene and Eric side, but by the time I got to the Paul and Bruce, it was getting late. People were taking way too much time taking the pictures, so they stopped it. So I couldn't get a picture, unfortunately, which I found wasn't fair. But so that was my first encounter. But it wasn't just encountering the band; it was like being with the band all day.
Yeah, being with
that was for the people who were there. What an incredible experience that was.
Yeah, it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you always mention that, Pascal. I remember, I wish I was there, 95 with that was great, man. What they were doing, spending the whole day with the fans, man. And if you look at prices now and what they're giving the fans, you can't compare. I think you told me it was like $100 at that time.
$100.
$100. There you go.
Yeah.
So let's jump into the next one. So was there ever a moment where a Kiss member totally surprised you, either with kindness, humor, or something outrageous? So Rolla, on to you again.
On the Kiss Cruise 3, I bought a bass. And of course, we went into Melissa, little short Melissa, went with me to my meet and greet in Gene's suite. I had never met Gene before. So we walked in, and of course I was, had rehearsed this, how when you, like Cass says, when you rehearse things totally, it goes anyway. So I walked in and I said hello, and I told him who I was, and I introduced him to Melissa, and he looked at us, and he looked at Melissa, and he said, "She's a spinner." And I had this look of non-belief on my face, and Melissa just laughed. She thought it was so funny, and he hugged her, and he hugged me, and he looked at me, and he looked at her, and he said, "She doesn't know what a spinner is." And I'm like, oh my God. And so he proceeded to show me with hand gestures what a spinner was. And I'm like, okay. So, and then he's like, "I think we embarrassed her." And I'm like, "Yeah, you did." So that was very memorable, I think, and shocking at the same time. But, Gene that's just Gene. And I think that was his way of breaking the ice, because we talked to him about a lot of different things. We talked to him about the mud runs that we had done together and kiss makeup. And he checked out my demon tattoo on my shoulder and took photos of it. And it was a fun 20-30 minutes.
Wow.
Oh,
that he spent with
nice.
us. Yeah. It was a lot of fun. She's probably going to be mad because I noted that. But anyway,
Oh, that's awesome.
Gene
Patrick?
is just Gene.
Yeah, exactly. Gene is Gene. But what about
For
you?
myself, the story I was going to save later concerning Peter is that when they did the Bad Boys tour, I'd seen Ace's sound check, had a brief chat with Ace, which was sort of okay. And then I had paid the Rock Soldier, so I met him after the show. He didn't have much conversation. He signed everything, but there was no, how can I say, like, it was hard to have a chat with him, but he was all right. But then I'm good friends with Mark Montague, Peter's bass player, and he had given us these passes, and he said, when the show's over, you have to give them back to me. And Mark had told us that if he could, he would have us meet Peter, me and my buddy. And sure enough, after the show, we we go back to Mark's hotel room. And I said, "Here are the passes." And I said, I tried to be not this pushy fanboy. I said, "I think Peterson maybe would be up to seeing us." Oh, he says, "Yeah, let me call his room." He calls his room, and Peter's not there. He says, "I think I know where he is. Now I can tell the story now that he was in the tour bus outside the hotel, just relaxing with the other guys." So we walk over to the bus, and Mark goes to my friend and I, and he goes, "Just a second, guys. I'll get inside and I'll get back to you." And I said to my friend, "You know what? I have a feeling this isn't going to happen." I said, "I'd rather don't get your hopes too high." I was very sort of like, I wasn't too optimistic. Make it short, Mark opens the door, the door of the bus, and he goes, "Okay, guys, come inside." Oh, wow. I go inside the bus, and there's Peter at the right at the end. I sit and I try not to go, "Wow." I said, "Hey, how you doing?" And he was very excited. He said, "Oh, I just jammed with Gene and Paul at the Kiss convention. Man, it was so hot. 3 out of 4 now." And I said, "Oh yeah, that's cool." And I said, "Would you mind signing a few things?" He said, "Yeah, sure." So my friend's first wife had made the four soul album's paintings, each face, and we had Ace sign it in the afternoon, and then we showed it to Peter, and it was like, "Oh, that's nice. Who did this?" And my friend said, "That's my wife." "Oh," he says, "she's really good," and he signed it over to me. I had this huge magazine poster, like almost 2x3, of him in his Love Gun outfit, and he shows that to the other guys. And he goes, "Look at this, guys!" And the guys were like, "Yeah." So he signed everything, but he was he didn't rush us. He wasn't like, "Okay, you guys just," and I said, we chatted about maybe 10-15 minutes, and then I said, "Yeah, Peter, thank you so much for your hospitality. We have about a 45-minute drive. We'll go back home." And we left, and he slapped my bum.
Oh, yeah. I love it.
Like, did he do that? Did he
Nice.
do that? It was cool. It was done in a nice way. So that's, he didn't have to give us the time after a show, and he did, and it was just beautiful. It was one of my greatest memories.
Oh, great story, man.
Mhm.
Love it.
I thought you were going to say, he didn't have to slap my bum, but he did, and I'm glad he did.
Oh my God.
I was like, okay, did he really do that?
Can you do it again? Can you do it? Pascal, what about you?
Yeah, mine actually took place at a convention that Patrick organized with Mark St. John. Remember that one?
Oh,
Mark
yeah.
St. John. It was a friend of mine. We were at the bar, and we noticed Mark there, and we said, "Hey, Mark, looking forward to seeing you at the convention." He could have said easily, "Yeah, guys, really cool. We'll see you there." No, guys, join us. Join me. And my friend and I sat with him, and we just chatted away like
cool.
we're buds. He didn't have to do that, and I don't think many people knew who he was at the bar, but we definitely did. We definitely did. But he was such a nice guy, and that brings back memories of Claudio when we met Ace in Rutland.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing, you know. What a surprise! What a surprise there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, in my case, I think it was back in 2017, in London, Ontario. Peter came from Comic-Con. There was Dee Snider there. There was also Lita Ford, Ken Kelly. That was fantastic. So I drove to London, and Peter had this session, the photo session that, I was thinking that it was going to be kind of as usual, 20 seconds and off you go. So that day he was in a real good mood. And when it was time for me to step in, I had thought about this, and I told him, I play drums because of you, you're my hero, blah, blah, blah. And so then he looked at me in the eye, because he's very personal. Peter, he looks at you and he really listens, it's not like one more. And he said, really? And then he started asking me, so what was your first set? Was it a pair? Was it a Tama? And then we started chatting drums with him. And the photographer, he was just waiting. And Peter was, no, hold on. I'm chatting with this guy. So we chatted, and then he hugged me, and then he took a picture. I was crying when I left. I remember calling my wife, and I couldn't believe it. I was with Peter, because that was one of my heroes. And then 3 or 4 hours later, he was doing the signing with Gigi, and then I walked in. I brought my solo from the '78, the cover for signing, and then he remembered me again. So of course it was only 3-4 hours later, but then he continued talking, and then I asked him questions if he was planning to come to Montreal. What were his plans for a future album or anything. He was in a really good mood. So I was I picked Peter because of kindness, and I had heard that he's very moody sometimes, but I had one of the best days with him, and I will always be grateful for that.
When Peter's in a good mood, he's in a really good mood.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And he's a hugger, right? He always
hugs. He is. Yeah, he's touchy. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember meeting Peter at a New Jersey Expo. And he was with people like 20 minutes at a time. I think he left at 1:30 in the morning. The expo was long done, and he was still meeting people. And he was talking about his cancer experience. And I was talking about my father's cancer experience. And at the end of it, he just gave me this hug. It was incredible.
Really? Wow.
It was incredible. Yeah.
Wow.
What an incredible man.
Yeah.
All right. So how about this one? Have you ever had a moment with a member of KISS that completely changed the way you saw them as a person or performer? Claudio.
I have to say that that was the experience that we lived together with Ace. And why? Because I had heard so many stories that, he's not personal, that, he doesn't take the time, he always, thumbs up, he doesn't even smile. But, that moment, past when we were together, backstage with him and Lara, it really changed the way I perceived Ace. So now I cannot believe, all the stories that people say that he's not very kind. He goes through the motions. So that basically changed the way I look at Ace now. So now when I look at a picture or something, when I remember, what we went through, during that show, I have great memories, and that was one of my greatest experiences, with a celebrity, I have to say, with Ace.
Well, yeah, because the show before that apparently didn't go very well.
Exactly.
And then the show we saw, he was so happy
It was
with
fantastic.
it,
Yeah.
But that's the thing, right? There was a lineup of people waiting for the meet and greet, and because we interviewed Lara, she got us in, and he wasn't putting on an act. He was just being Ace. He was on the couch, laying back, relaxing.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to push it. Remember, we just asked Lara for an autograph, but then he asked for a picture. He asked to sign something. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And then we're about to leave, and he's talking to us. It's like, this is mind-boggling. But this wasn't a performer. This wasn't a member of KISS. This was a person talking to us.
Yeah.
I will never forget that.
Remember when we came into the room, he's like, oh, these are the podcast guys.
Yeah. Yes.
It was so funny.
That was amazing, and even the interview with Lara.
Yeah.
At one point, we had to rush it because he was waiting downstairs for supper, and she was still with us for the interview.
Right.
That was really cool. All right, Patrick, how about you?
For myself, I think really Ace, but maybe for different reasons, but not negative. It's just that Ace has always been my favorite. I think everyone knows that by now, anyone who watches this podcast. So when I saw him in Montreal for the Bad Boys tour, was my second time, and during the sound check, you could tell he was sort of in a sour mood. So I shook his hand and I said, "I'm Patrick," and he was like, "Yeah, whatever." And but when I saw him after that for the Rock Soldiers thing, we were, I think, 5 people. It's not that there was a lineup. That was after the show, and his road manager told me, "You can have a few autographs," and I tried to make a conversation with him. Maybe he was tired, or and I said, "Wow, it's the first time you've been here since '79. You're going to come back again?" And he goes, and he had this thick accent. "Sure, we had a ball,
You nailed it. Nailed it.
and he signs my poster and he goes to Pat or Patrick. And I said, "Well, whatever you want, Ace. It makes no difference." And I said, "Thanks again, Ace. This is, I had a nice time. It was great." He says, "Cool, man." Not very warm, but at the same time, I could tell he appreciated me telling him those things. So, but it was like, yeah, he's a person who's a bit not shy, but someone who's a little more distant, and that's okay. That's the way he is, and I didn't have a problem with it. As time went by, at first I was a little like, wow, he's not very easy to talk to, but after a while, when you grow up, you go, well, no, that's the way he is, and he was cool in his own way. That's how I perceived it.
Cool. Raula, how about you?
I'm gonna say Paul Stanley. Of course I love Kiss, but Paul Stanley, I've never really been a huge Paul fan. I don't know why. There's something about him that's a little different. No offense, but I bought a painting and we did our meet and greet with him, and he's like a 360 from Gene, or a 180 from Gene. He's very quiet, and he's very kind, and he's so different off stage than he is on.
Oh yeah.
And I think that changed my whole perception of him, because the character is totally different from Paul the person. And I showed him some of my artwork, and we chatted, and he dedicated the painting, "Always make art as beautiful as you are." And it really touched my heart. I think about it now, and it almost brings a tear to my eye. I mean, it really, it changed my whole, persona, or my whole impression of him completely. Because he's so different in real life than he is on stage. you can tell that he has such a passion for his art. And I think that's what touched me so much, because I'm an artist too.
Of
And
course.
so for me, I would have to say that whole, I mean, it wasn't that long, maybe 5-10 minutes, but it was enough to totally win me over.
Of course.
Mm.
Powerful 10
I was,
minutes.
yeah,
Yeah, of
I was mesmerized.
course.
I mean, that's no other word that I could say other than I was mesmerized by him, totally and completely.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah.
My experience was with Bruce Kulick. I created the Kiss Army Nation Facebook group over 20 years ago, and I used that as a vehicle to do other things. So I did something called Kiss Army Nation TV. Like for 4 or 5 years, I was recording all of my historic adventures with the band, going to see them at expos, at concerts, things like that. Once that ended, I got into doing Kiss Army Nation events. So I was creating a lot of events in Montreal. I felt that there wasn't a lot going on Kiss related in Montreal. I figured someone has to do it. It's going to be me. You know, this is way after Patrick, because at one point, Patrick, it was all you, man. All the conventions that you did here. So I did a show called Rocky New Year's Bash.
Oh yeah, that was
Right.
nice.
That was amazing. I did that for 2 years. Cost me a bundle. I don't care. It was worth it. The second year we had Lydia Chris, we had
Yeah.
Mark Montague, we had J.R. Smalling.
Yeah.
Oh, that was fun.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing. What a lot of people don't know, I tried to have Bruce Kulick on. And talking to him online, talking to him on the phone was not enough. He was at a New Jersey expo, so I managed to get an interview with him, some time with him to talk business and about the show. And it was interesting because you have the rock star, but when you go into business mode, it's a whole different scenario. Everybody loves Bruce. He's the nicest guy. Easy to talk to, easy to approach. But even Bruce, when it's business, this guy it's all about business. We spent 30 minutes. Well, I spent 30 minutes basically answering all of his questions about the show. I was giving him reassurances, what I'm going to do for him, how we're going to do it, and all of that. I had everything carefully planned out. What was cool about that is like, oh my God, I'm sitting here with Bruce Kulick talking business about my show and whether he came or not. I mean, this is incredible.
Yeah.
But all to say that in the half hour that we talked, and again, I was prepared. I was prepared for every possible question and scenario that he gave me. And I was pretty much on the ball there. It's like the questions I anticipated, he asked. But at the very end, it's like, I'm sorry, I can't. It's just too cold up there.
Ooh.
That was his answer. After all of that, it was just too cold.
There's nothing I can do against
Nothing
that.
I can do, man. It's like, I can't work with that one, man. It's just too cold.
Oh, really? Wow. So that basically changed, the perspective that you had from Bruce.
Oh no, yeah. No, it didn't. Nothing in terms of negativity or everything. I still
No. Okay,
but it was interesting seeing him like in a different light.
Business, right.
in business. But even in business, he's such a nice guy.
Oh yeah.
He's such a nice guy.
Yeah, he's a class act.
Yeah, Pat, you know this as well as
Oh, yeah.
anybody. You worked with him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, I can say you're 100% correct.
All right. So speaking of dreams, so did you ever have a Kiss dream come true moment in your life? So like a backstage hangout or personal chat or some unexpected invite, something that basically stands out as, when you were going to sleep, you said, one of my dreams come true. So Pask, did you have one of those moments?
I had a lot of those moments, but this one, oh man, this question brought up some strong memories. 2013, the Monster Tour. Again, I've been a fan since '76. I never actually did a meet and greet at that point. So during the Monster Tour, I did 8 shows throughout the summer in Canada and in the US. I followed them everywhere. Now, if you remember in those days, After every show, on Kiss Online, they would post pictures of fans at the venue. So I decided, you know what? I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna take pictures. I'm gonna take pictures of fans. And at that time, I was doing my Kiss Army Nation TV, so I was filming videos at the same time taking pictures. I thought, let me do that. So at every show, I took pictures of the fans, and I thought, let me give it a shot. I sent it to Kiss Online, and it was posted almost every single time. Every single time. The final show, the 8th show of the summer, I found myself at Mohegan Sun. And Anthony Lauro, if anybody remembers him, the Ant-Man, Kiss Cruise Maniacs, he basically got us into the venue before the show. He brought the big Kiss Maniacs logo, and we took a picture of it with the Kiss Cruise Maniacs in front of the stage.
Nice.
Like, oh, this is pretty cool. Seeing the stage before the band comes on, this was incredible. That for me was what a moment. But it didn't end there. So Keith LaRue comes up to me and goes, hey, Pasquale, thank you so much for all the work you did. I go, what work? Well, all the pictures you took and you sent them to Kiss Online, that wasn't work. It was my absolute pleasure to do that. Well, it was deeply appreciated. Thank you. He hands me a meet and greet.
Nice.
Like,
Oh,
what?
wow.
That's cool.
What?
That's
Incredible. And oh my God, I remember standing in line for the picture. And then when I turned the corner and I see the band through the doorway, it's like, I couldn't believe this is happening. Just so you guys know, I'm trying to promote the podcast through TikTok. I'm getting hooked on TikTok. So what I'm doing now is I'm taking 1-minute snippets from my Kiss Army Nation TV videos and putting them on TikTok.
That's
Sort of
right.
like my history. And the last thing I put up was that particular meet and greet, that picture. So that's why it really brought back memories, and I posted that. Man, when I got in front of them and took that picture, it was, I have a picture of it here. I have it framed. What an experience. And again, the best experiences are the ones that are unexpected. I did not see that one coming. That was not planned at all.
Yeah.
Not planned at all. And the guys were in a good mood. I remember Gene was making jokes about Ace, and it was an incredible experience.
Beautiful. Rolla, what about you?
This was kind of a hard question. I've still been kind of running it through my mind as you guys were talking. On a lot of things that have happened on the cruises, of course. Kiss Cruise 9, was that pre-COVID? That was pre-COVID, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. So, Ravonda and Carrie and I all did our theme night one night. We all dressed up as Jean. And I think I had a lot of studs on, and we had boots and capes, and well, I had a cape on. And we had found out, we were walking around the ship, and we had found out that Jean was at the Japanese restaurant having a meeting with so we actually went up there and we waited. And Michael, is it Berger? Is that how you say it? Jean's guitar tech?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
He
Michael.
came over and started talking to us, and he tried to get us to go with him somewhere. And I'm like, no, I'm not going. I'm staying right here. So I stayed at the Japanese restaurant, and the other girls said, okay, fine. And they came back, and we were standing there, and Gene came out of the restaurant, and our eyes locked.
Wow.
And he said, oh my God. And he walked over to us, and he said, can I have a selfie with you ladies?
Nice.
He asked us for a selfie. Yes. And so we all took photos. Someone took the photos for us. We all got photos on our cameras. And of course we got on, he's like, I'm posting this to Kiss Online. So it was on Kiss Online. And but that was a memorable experience. And it was very unexpected. I mean, it was kind of unexpected, but kind of not, because we're standing there and I'm like, are they coming? Are they coming out? Jimmy Williams was like, I think they're getting ready to come out in just a minute. Just hang out right here. Don't go anywhere. I know they're in there. I saw them earlier. So that was exciting.
Wow.
Oh my goodness. You can't top that. Oh, this is awesome.
Yeah. But we had full makeup on and everything.
Yeah, I remember seeing pictures.
Yeah.
You were amazing. You were freaking amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, Patrick, what about you, my friend?
I'm trying to think. Really, maybe seeing Ace's sound check in Montreal. That was totally
Uh,
unexpected. And we'd hear him play stuff, Kiss stuff like, if I remember correctly, Lover All I Can, doing stuff like that, which was like, oh my God, how come he's playing so many Kiss songs? Little did I know that I think he was already preparing for what was coming next
Mm,
following year. That's
mhm.
just an opinion I have, but it's like that's kind of strange. But seeing him do this, you see an artist doing his work
yeah.
because yeah, when he performs, he's doing his work. But now what you're seeing, soundcheck is behind the scenes. That was not planned. I got there because of Mark Montague, who was playing with Peter Criss. They were both doing a show, both bands. So that's why I was able to witness that. And pretty amazing when you think about that they were doing a small show like that, and just 12 months later, they're doing stadiums of big cities everywhere. Kind of fascinating. But that,
Mm.
yeah, it was totally unplanned and fun from a curiosity standpoint, because as I said earlier, Ace was, you could tell he was nervous. It was the first date of the tour, so it was like
Uh-huh.
everything was still not 100% right. So you could tell Ace was bothered by that, but that's, every first show of every first tour, it has glitches. So
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
overall,
Yeah.
it was fun to witness something like that behind the scenes.
Nice. Nice. Well, in my case, dreams come true. It just happened recently. I think it was last year when I went to Madrid. Um, we had a couple of episodes talking about the Gene Simmons band show and all the stuff, but thanks to the guys from the Kiss Army Spain from Javier, we went to the show, and I wasn't expecting actually to meet Gene, but Kiss Army Spain being a recognized, fan club, and they were playing in Madrid, so Javier found a way to kind of have access to backstage after the show, and to me it was a dream come true because it was not kind of business. You could tell that Gene was really um, having a good time. He sat down. We were invited to go into a very simple and I have to say rustic, a backstage, nothing fancy. He was sitting there, having a Coke and having some water. And he invited us, we were four. He invited us to sit down and then he started chatting. He wanted to know what was each one of us, the history, when did you, so he was asking us question, when did you start listening to us? What's your favorite album? And then he went kind of personal. I asked about his family, I asked him how's Shannon and how are Nick and Sophie. And I wanted to make the connection with Canada. So because you say, oh, yeah, I'm coming from Montreal, and I know that, Shanna she's from Newfoundland, and my son, he's living there. And then he kind of started opening his eyes and he started asking questions about Newfoundland and all this stuff. He was making jokes of the accent and all of that. So that was so amazing. I could see, to me, I couldn't believe that I was talking to the demon, right? So that guy that I was looking at posters, with the blood, with the fire, spitting, and all of that, and he was like a grandpa there. It was really, he was so amazing. And he was really down to earth. He seemed to be tired, but that was a dream come true because I always expected to have that kind of conversation with Gene, so and that really happened. So a shout out, a shout out to the guys in Spain, Javier, who made it happen. That was awesome.
That's a good point you made there. It's like you're talking to the demon. We often hear the band through their records, through their music, right? But when you
Yeah.
hear that voice talking to you,
Yeah.
that's something completely different.
A weird feeling.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And the one that strikes me the most is Peter Criss.
Yeah.
I remember the New York. We did the New York bus tour with Peter Criss. We were in the top level. I'm sitting like next to Peter, and he's just talking about his experiences in and around New York City. And I'm not even looking at him. Just that voice is in my ear,
Yeah.
talking to us, and
Yeah.
it's Peter Criss. And
Yeah.
he's telling stories like, I mean, he's telling some really heavy duty stories. And I couldn't believe I was hearing them from the man himself
From the
in
man
New
himself.
York City, where it all happened. It
Wow.
was amazing.
Wow.
Okay. So I've been looking forward to this question because I have a doozy of a story. So have you ever had an awkward or hilarious encounter with a member of KISS? Maybe something that didn't go as planned. Claudio.
Back in 1999, with a group of fans, back in Argentina, we were doing KISS expos. And at that time, after the huge, as I said, the huge hysteria in '94, these guys that were running the fan club, they stayed in contact with Eric Singer and Bruce Kulick. They were out of the band, by '99. So, and they were touring. So they accepted to come to Buenos Aires, and we did a KISS expo. So then, three friends of mine and myself included, we kind of made something called the KISS Museum. So we were showcasing, our merch, our collection. We were not selling anything. We just wanted to share with the fans. And I remember that the big expectation came from the fact that Eric Singer was there. He was going to play, and he was going to walk up and come to our booth, and look at our collection and blah blah blah. So nothing of that happened. So he played the show. He was in a really, really bad mood. He kind of played a very short set list, no more than 45 minutes. I think he went by the contract. He didn't sign anything at all. And when he finally came up to where we were with the KISS Museum. We were so excited, we wanted to chat with him and everything. He just looked at the stuff. We were asking him questions. He didn't even say hi, nothing, zero. And then he walked out. So from that moment, you can tell that he's not my favorite KISS member by now, but I don't know why, because, people were so kind to him, they were very warm, they gave him a warm welcome. They were singing all the songs, very passionate. But the guy, he didn't seem to be there at all. He wanted to be out as soon as possible. So that was really awkward, so nothing go as planned. But yeah, that from what I heard, that sometimes that happens with Eric Singer. So yeah, that was one of those.
Again, with most celebrities, right? There's no in between. You're in a bad mood or in a good mood. There's no in between.
Yeah.
And when Eric is in a good mood, man, he's in a great mood.
Yeah.
But he's in a bad mood. Stay away. Stay away.
That's right.
Trust me, I know. Patrick, how about you?
Well, first time I met Peter, I brought this up a little earlier. I expected, because I had seen Peter in interviews being ha 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 and sort of like nice and the most down to earth, and that's what I expected when I saw him. Like I said earlier, he didn't seem to be too happy with the show. And maybe I was a little overexcited. I was like, hey, you're the best. And he goes, yeah, I do my best. I tried to tell him my life in 30 seconds. Oh, I have the Chelsea album. Great album, by the way, which I'm not sure I really meant. But anyway, I was like, oh, yeah, that's good. But no conversation.
Nothing.
I could tell he was scratching his head like, are you over with this, man? And so that was a bit of a disappointment. But as I said, 5 days later, I see him, and it's a totally different thing.
Yeah.
So no complaints. But the first time didn't go as, I was on a high when I got out of there and saying, oh, I just met Peter, but, oh, he's not that cool. And, but fortunately, the other times after, it was more than great.
Rala, how about you?
I'm going to say, well, let me start it out this way. I've seen Ace a multitude of times, but the first couple of times I met him, he was very tired, not talkative, like we've all talked about. So I decided at this meet and greet, I was going to do something a little different. I had Megan make me a pair of lightning bolt pants. And I wore these pants to this particular meet and greet. And I expected him to notice them, but not to the degree that he noticed them. He rubbed my leg and was touching the fabric, and he's a Taurus like I am, so it's a fabric, a touchy-feely thing. And he just kept going on and on about that. I love those pants. That fabric's really nice. Oh, those are really nice. I like those. And I'm like, well, I had them made just for you and yada yada. And it's so every concert now or every meet and greet now that I see him in, I try to wear the pants and he always makes a mention, I like those pants. I remember those pants. So, I mean, it was a little awkward that first time, but yeah, it's kind of cool that he remembers. And so I'm like, did I break the ACE code? Maybe. Maybe I broke the code.
Mine took place at the New Jersey Kiss Expo at the same time that I saw Bruce. I had that business meeting with Bruce, same expo. Now, at that expo, I wore this this suit that I had airbrushed. I believe it was for Kiss Cruise 5. And on the pants, speaking of pants, Rella, I believe it was Gene and Eric. And Eric was right next to my crotch, kind of thing. The promoter of the expo kind of found that funny. So called over Eric and goes, "Look, Eric, you're at his crotch." He didn't find that too funny. So that was the first thing. That was the first thing. So during that particular expo, that was when I was doing my Kiss Army Nation TV stuff, right? So I was filming the entire expo, but I wanted to meet Eric, get an autograph, and the lineups were like endless. So I talked to the promoter. I go, "Listen, I'm not going to be able to film this because I want to meet Eric, and I'm going to be at that line for at least a couple of hours, so I won't be able to film anymore." He goes, "Listen, do your thing. Just film the expo like you want, and I'll get you a personal meeting with Eric, and he'll sign whatever you want." I go, "Are you kidding me?" He goes, "Yeah, no problem." I go, "Wow, okay." And at that point, I had that half-hour meeting with Bruce. I had the meeting with Bruce. And near the end of the meeting, the promoter goes, "Okay, Eric's ready to see you." I go, "Oh my God, I'm meeting with Bruce, and now a personal meeting with Eric. This is crazy." So I leave the meeting with Bruce, and the promoter takes me to Eric. I assumed it was going to be in a room, just him and I bring my stuff to sign. No, it was on the stage before he went up to talk for the panel. I'm going, okay, what's going on here? The promoter goes, go see him. I go, now he's about to go up. No, go see him. I assumed that Eric knew that I was going to see him before he went up on stage. He was not told that I was going to see him.
Ouch.
He goes, "Where the hell were you when there was a lineup? People waited hours. And you think you could just come in here before I go up on stage and get something signed?" I go, "It's him. He told me to come see you." Then the promoter came and explained everything. And at that point, Eric was not in a good mood. He signed, that's it. Like, gone. And he did his panel. Then I went into the audience to see the show. And one of my friends goes, "Pask, did Eric just give you shit?" I go, "Yeah, wasn't that cool?"
Wow.
Like, oh my God. So like the two experiences I had with Eric were not great. Were not great. But that one was and it wasn't his fault. He didn't know, he thought I was a guy that was trying to cut in.
Yeah, of course.
But the promoter should have thought to ask him first.
Yeah.
I mean, my God, before he went up on stage, for God's sakes.
That was on him.
Oh yeah, for sure. And he felt really bad. But that was the worst encounter I've ever had. My God. After Bruce telling me that it was too cold to come to Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny, when we talk about all this, things come alive again, like you remember so much that it's amazing.
Yeah.
So guys, wrapping up the show. So what the last question is, what's the most memorable thing a KISS member ever said to you, whether if it was funny or profound or just totally unexpected? Rhoda, I want to hear you. I want to see what you say.
Two things come to mind. both from Gene, and both with lots of sexual innuendo, which we all know Gene is that way. So I had a meet and greet with him in Richmond, Virginia, and we were downstairs, almost like in a basement type area. I'm not sure exactly, but it was really hot in there. And I had said something to Gene, we were talking, and he had signed, I had done a painting of him, and he had signed the painting, and he's like, "Oh, you did a good job on the tongues. That's the best part, right?" And I'm like, "I guess." So he signed the painting, and I'm like, he's like, "You okay?" And I'm like, "It's really hot in here." Of course, a lot had to do with nerves. And he's like, he motioned for somebody over. He said, "Bring the fan." So this guy brought this huge commercial fan over. He said, "Bring the Kiss fan." So they brought the fan over, and it was like on a long 100-foot cord, it seemed like. And they brought it over, and he angled it up towards me, and Gene pulled my hair up. That's the photo.
Nice.
Oh, that's the photo. Okay.
So
Okay.
Gene and Eric Swenson is taking all these cool photos, and he pulls my hair up, and he's like, "So, have you ever been blown by a Kiss fan before?" And I'm like, wow. And so the look on my face in that photo, Eric totally captured it. But that's probably the most memorable thing that any one of them has ever said to me. And I'm like, "How did you just say that to me?" But yeah, that was kind of a cool little memory there.
It's
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Patrick, what about you?
Well, that one time when I spent about 15 minutes in the tour bus with Peter and my buddy, and at some point, I don't remember what led for him to say that to me, when he says, "You know what? I like you, man. I really like you a lot. You're really cool." And so I was like, okay, a member of Kiss tell me he appreciates that guy. Like, okay, that's the guy on the album cover of Alive 2 saying that to me. That's kind of
Is this happening?
process that, but it was cool, and I could tell he meant it. Like, I'm not sure he would remember me now, but just the way he put it, it appeared to be like real. As far as, I don't think he would say that just to be nice. I think at the time he meant it. So that was kind of cool. It was unexpected, but kind of cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Nice.
What about you?
For me, it was a profound moment. It was with Paul Stanley. I had bought one of his paintings in New Jersey. It was a birthday present to myself. And it was one of his circle paintings. I forget what it was called. And when we were in line, we were told, when you meet Paul, you can't talk Kiss. I go, "No, I don't plan on talking Kiss. I want to talk about his painting." So when I got in front of him and started talking with him, I started talking about my interpretation of the painting. And it was basically, going full circle in life, where you have your good moments, then you have your really negative moments, and then back to your good moments again. And sometimes you have to wait for the cycle to be complete for it to come back to that positive moment. And I brought up my divorce, and that's exactly how I saw it. I was married. I went through a really difficult time with my divorce. Thought I'd never get through it, but then the circle became complete, and I am where I am now. Couldn't be happier. But that's it, and that's exactly what he said about his own divorce. That painting was inspired, by what he went through with his own divorce. Oh, and Evan has the original painting. Well, at the time, had the original painting up in his bedroom. It's like, I had the same painting, the print of it anyway, that Evan has on top of his bed. And Paul and I were talking about life and marriage and hardships with Paul Stanley. Mm-hmm. And I forget how it came up, but at one point he goes, "You know what? I'm just like you. I'm no different. I'm no different than you." It's like, that to me was like something else. We connected at a level that I couldn't imagine with my idol.
Wow,
that's nice.
Wow. That's really big, man. Well, just to wrap up, I have to go back to my experience with Gene in Spain when we were sitting there. I think I touched on this before, but talking about family, and he I could see he looked me in the eyes, and when we were talking about Shannon and Nick and Sophie, then he asked me a question, how many kids you have? And then he said to me, like, you know, regardless of what people say and money and all of that, he said, family is the most important thing in life. And I wasn't expecting that from Gene at all. I know that he's a cool guy with the family. He's not into character when he's the real guy. I don't know if it was profound. I don't think it was so profound as what you just mentioned, Pask, but it was completely unexpected from Gene. So that to me gave me the impression that he's past all this rock and roll God stuff. He's just going there and playing what he wants. But when you have the chance to talk to him, and I'm really grateful that I had, he talks family, and he's really down to earth. He's not into this rock and roll, legend stuff. Of course, when he goes into interviews and all of that, he comes up with a character. But having the chance to chat with him the way I did, it was fantastic. Completely unexpected from him.
Nice.
Cool.
Guys, in closing, I got to say that this was an episode that I really needed. Without getting into it, I've been going through a existential crisis, and I just feel almost with a dread that it's over. I feel that the direction, I'm not going to go into it at all, but I feel like the direction that Pop House is going is more for another group of fans and less for us. Mm-hmm. There hasn't been a lot of hype around the band lately. And I just feel that losing grip with that fantasy, that life that I've always had with the band, that, and this is going to sound stupid and corny, but what made me special, it's slipping through my fingers. But tonight's episode reminded me that what it's really about is about you guys on the screen and the Kiss Army out there listening to us, watching us. It's the community, and that's why I am so appreciative, Claudio, that we're doing this podcast, because I absolutely need this.
Yeah.
Because without it, I'm just like a regular human being.
But it's so true. It's so true, and I think that there's no. I don't think it's a coincidence that actually we had to have this episode today. Exactly. Speaking of all the great things that we went through with this band, I hear you. I completely agree with you. We chat about it. So what we're going through with Kiss, but this is what Kiss is about now. So having beautiful Rolla with us, Pat all the time, in high spirits, in good mood. This is what it's all about, and this, even if the band does not play anymore or Pop House decides to do whatever they want to do, this is still us, this is still Kiss. And I fully agree with you, Pask, and much really needed episode. And we have to thank Rolla and Pat to make it happen. This is beautiful, guys.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
It's fun.
Well, you guys are like family. We've all kind of intertwined together, not just us four, but with the whole Kiss Army. And even with Kiss, it's almost like they're we've said this before, parents or older brothers that we have to connect with still.
True.
So,
but it's a good analogy, because it's almost like we now left the nest. We're on our own now.
That's right.
We separated from the parents.
Yeah.
So we have to find our own identity without our parents.
That's right.
It's a good analogy. Good analogy.
Well said.
right.
Yeah. Patrick, any closing comments?
That was great. I needed that too. It's a lot of fun always. I love hearing stories. So it was
Me too.
just fabulous.
It's the best. It's the best. Thanks again, guys. To the Kiss Army, we hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you have stories, put them in the comment sections. And if you have any questions or comments, send them to talktome@kissarmynationpodcast.com. Until the next time, remember, never stop rocking. Take care, everyone.